405. This is Sophia, and this is the help video on how to perform all the calculations that you need to do to fill out the results in the discussion question for Lab 4 intensity of exercise. So the document that I'm going to go over is this one right here, right? Lab 4 calculations example. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So right here to the left, I have that document, the example calculations. And to my right, I have the lab manual, right? So over here, you have to fill out this section, right? The results, everything with your case study subject information, right? So for your case study, you're going to write the number right here, their age, their max heart rate, the 60% of their heart rate max, and then 70% of their heart rate max. Then you're going to fill out this table that I explain on lecture, right? All the formulas that you need are on your lab manual and also on the PowerPoint slides to calculate at 40%, 50%, 60%, 70% of the intensity, the heart rate reserve, the VO2 reserve, the METs, and the energy expenditure. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I want to go ahead and explain the following, the discussion and the analysis, right? So from the Excel graph, where you have heart rate versus time and RPE versus time, all of it's already filled out, right? That's the sample data from your case study subject. And you're going to use that information to fill out the following tables. And so, as you know, each bout of exercise lasts 6 minutes in total. And for each of the bouts, right, this is very important for all of you to know, is that the cadence for all the bouts stay the same, right, at 60 RPMs. The revolutions for all bouts, it's 6 revolutions per minute. And for all case study subjects, right, for all the subjects, the resistance for the zero to peak method, that bout, was 1 kilogram. Then the resistance for the heart rate reserve method bout was 1.5 kilograms. And then for the RPE method bout was 1 kilogram for the resistance, right? And again, these resistance were used for all the subjects, right? Awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead and explain the 3 different tables, right? And each one belongs to the bout of exercise that we are going to perform in lab. So the first bout of exercise is the zero to peak method, right? 6 minutes total. Then the second bout is the heart rate reserve method. That's the second bout of exercise. And the third one is the rate of perceived exertion, RPE method. So each of them are 6 minutes in duration, right? And all the procedures are in the lab manual. All right. With that noted, let's go ahead and look at the example calculations, right? So for the sake of math, right, I use this sample subject. So for the calculations that we're going to do, we're going to be doing them only for the zero to peak method, right? So this is to fill out this table only. And don't forget to perform all these calculations for heart rate reserve and the rate of perceived exertion. Okay, all the calculations that I'm going to show you right now are the same for those 3 tables: zero to peak, heart rate reserve, and rate of perceived exertion. All right, so let's get started. So for our example, right? This is a sample subject, age 30 years old. The VO2 max was calculated at 27 milliliters per kg per minute. The heart rate max was 190 beats per minute. The heart rate at rest measured was 74 beats per minute, and the body mass is 80 kilograms, right? So with that information, we're going to start filling out our table, right? So for the first one, predicted maximum heart rate, that is simply the 220 minus their age, right? But here we already have the information given, so you just write that down. Then the target heart rate range, that's between 60 to 70%, right? You're gonna write that down here. So it will be for the 60%, right? Doing the simple calculation of 190 beats per minute times 0.60. So that would be 190 times 0.60, right? 114 beats per minute. And the same thing for the 70% of the heart rate max, right? So 190 times 0.70, 133 beats per minute, right? So this is our target range. 60% of their heart rate max is 114 beats per minute. 70% of their heart rate max is 133 beats per minute. Then the duration of exercise, right? The 0 to peak method, the heart rate reserve method, and the rate of perceived exertion method. All those 3 bouts are 6 minutes in duration. So the 0 to peak method, 6 minutes. We'll write that down here. Then for the average actual heart rate, this is the average heart rate from all the 6 minutes of exercise, right? And you will look at the Excel and you will look at those 6 values. Since it's 6 minutes in duration, the exercise, you measured heart rate every minute. You have 6 values of heart rate. You add all those 6 values, you divide it by 6, right? You get the average, and the average is 123 beats per minute. For the average actual RPE, right, you do the exact same thing. You look at those 6 values that you recorded for every minute of the bout of exercise, the RPE, you add the 6 values, you divide it by 6, right, and then you get the average of the RPE. And for the sake of the example, it's 15. Right, now average work rate. So for the 0 to peak method, right, for this example only, the resistance was 2 kilograms and the cadence was 60 RPMs, right? And so we use our work rate formula, which is this one right here. Work rate equals cadence times the resistance times 6. So for the sake of this example, right, it was cadence 60 RPMs. The resistance was 2 kilograms. And our constant, that's 6 meters per revolution, equals 720 kgms per minute. Right, so the work rate, the average work rate for the bout of exercise was 720 kgms per minute, right? And this, compared to past labs, we are calculating, right? You are calculating this from the resistance that you put on the bike and the cadence, the 60 RPMs. All right. From here, we move on to average relative VO2. That's this one right here. And this, you will use the cycle ergometry ergometry equation. So it's our formula right here, right? To predict, calculate VO2, right? Milliliters per minute per kg is going to be the work rate times 1.8 divided by the body mass in kilograms times 7. So if you use the values from this example subject, right? The work rate that we calculated was 720 from over here times the 1.8 divided by 80. That was the body weight of this sample subject. Body weight in kilograms, right? Don't forget, times 7, and it comes to a 23.2 milliliters per minute per kg. And that's this value right here, right? And this is the relative VO2 that our subject was working at in this specific resistance, right? With the resistance that they used of 2 kilograms, you calculated the work rate, and based on this work rate, right, that was this is the VO2 that they were working at for those 6 minutes of the exercise bout. Right. Moving on to our average absolute VO2, right? So the only difference between this right here, the relative VO2 and the absolute VO2, right, is this change in units. So as you can see, for our relative VO2, our units are milliliters per minute per kg, right? This is relative to the body mass of the subject, that's in kilograms. And compared to our absolute VO2 value, right, this is only the units for absolute VO2 is liters per minute. So to make the conversion, right, from relative VO2 to absolute VO2, we take the 23.2 value, milliliters per minute per kg, divided by 100 times the body mass in kilograms. So if we plug that in, 23.2 divided by 1,000, sorry, by 1,000 times 80 kilograms equals 1.8 liters per minute. And this is our absolute VO2 value, that it's in liters per minute, right? Compared to our relative VO2, that's milliliters per minute per kg per kilograms. From here, we move on to calculating the average rate of energy expenditure, right? This is going to be this one right here. As you can see, it's in calories per minute. So we need this formula for calculating the energy expenditure, right? And we're going to use this absolute VO2 value times 5. So the absolute VO2 that we calculated previously, right, was 1.8 times 5 equals 9. So that would be 9 calories per minute of the average rate of energy expenditure, right? The calories that we are expending. So in total, the caloric expenditure, right, for this bout of exercise, if it was 6 minutes in total, right, we will multiply 9 calories per the 6 minutes of the duration of the exercise bout. 9 times 6 equals 54 calories. So this was 54 calories that we burned in the 6-minute bout of exercise, working between the 60% to 70% of the max heart rate. All right. So all these calculations, right, you have to complete for the zero to peak method bout of exercise, the heart rate reserve, bout of exercise, and the rate of perceived exertion, bout of exercise. Now we move on to this table right here, the total caloric expenditure. And so this is a table that's taking into account, right, the caloric expenditure for all those 3 bouts. So I'm going to move on and explain those calculations right here. Right, so for the first one, total exercise duration, right, from all 3 bouts, since each of those bouts were 6 minutes and there were 3 of them, 6 times 3 equals 18 minutes total, right? And so for the total caloric expenditure of all those 3 bouts, we're going to multiply 54, that was calories for 1 bout of exercise, right, times 3 equals 162 calories. So for the sake of this example, right, I just multiply it by 3 because I didn't get a chance to calculate the exercise, the total caloric expenditure for all the 3 bouts. But once you filled out these 3 tables, right, you're going to add the total caloric expenditure from the 0 to peak, the total caloric expenditure for the heart rate reserve, and the total caloric expenditure for the rate of perceived exertion, and you're going to put that in here, the total caloric expenditure for all the 3 bouts. All right, so continuing with the example calculations. For number 3, the fat burned, right, for all the 3 bouts, this one right here, we're going to use this conversion factor. And you've probably seen it before. 1 pound equals to 3,500 calories, right? And we're going to stick with this conversion factor for the calculations of our lab manuals, right? So for this example, right, it was 162 calories burned in total for the caloric expenditure of all the 3 bouts, right, divided by 3,500 calories, that will be 0.046 pounds. So that's the fat burned for all 3 bouts. Right, for number 4, the fat burned if all 3 bouts performed, if all 3 bouts were performed at 5 times per week, right? So what would happen if we completed the 3 bouts of exercise 5 times per week? So we would do that, the 0.046 pounds of fat burned of the 3 bouts, right, times the 5 times 5, which will be the total amount of times that we perform that exercise, it will be 0.23 pounds of fat burned if all the 3 bouts were performed 5 times per week. Right, and now for the number of weeks to burn 5 pounds of fat at 5 times per week training, right? This is talking about how long would it take us to burn 5 pounds of fat if we were to perform these 3 bouts of exercise, the RPE, the heart rate reserve, and the 0 to peak method if we perform these 3 bouts of exercise 5 times in a week. Right, so we need our conversion factor. 1 pound equals 3,500 calories, right? And then we would have to calculate how many calories we burn in 1 week only, right? So that would be the 0.23 pounds of fat burned if all the 3 bouts were performed 5 times per week, times the 3,500 calories, that would equal 805 calories per week. Right? So these 805 calories per week, these are the calories burned in a week if you perform all the 3 bouts 5 times, right? From here, we will use our conversion factor, right? 3,500 calories times 5, because this is the calories that you need to burn if you train in 5 times per week, right? And it comes out to 1,700, sorry, a thousand 17,500 calories burned in 5 weeks. So we divide that number by the 805 calories, that would come out to be in 21.7 weeks. So this would be the amount of time, right, that it would take us to burn 5 pounds of fat. They'll go right here. All right. I hope this outline helps you guys to plug in numbers from your case study subject and calculate those for your subject. And at the end of the lab, right, there's all the formulas that you need to perform the calculations. The biggest thing that I want to emphasize again is this thing at the very top, right? That for the 3 bouts of exercise, rate of perceived exertion, heart rate reserve, and zero to peak method, you need to know that the cadence for all the 3 is 60 RPMs, that the revolutions for all the bouts is 6, and that for all the subjects, right, the resistance for the zero to peak method is 1 kilogram. For the heart rate reserve method is 1.5, and the resistance for the RP method is 1 kilogram. This is the resistance is also noted in your Excel sheet where the name should be. I wrote it down so all of you guys know. Don't forget as well. And I hope this video is helpful. Email me, reach out if you have any questions, post it on the discussion board, and yeah, reach out if you have any questions. Have an awesome one.